Joining me now, folks, Democratic strategist Kevin Walling and a spokesperson for the RNC, Liz Harrington. Kevin, let me start with you. You heard these two women that Connell interviewed talking about Biden, a man of character, someone that they can trust. This seems to now be the wind in Biden sails, right? The familiar face. It's interesting because a week ago he was shaky.
It's very true.
And he was so shaky to the point where Michael Bloomberg came into the race. So was the win in South Carolina that overwhelming, and did it change things that much?
I think it was, Charles. You know, he had a really strong debate performance in South Carolina that propelled that nearly 30-point victory in the Palmetto State that's driving a lot of the folks to come home to Joe Biden as particularly the safe choice in this primary, with it looking more and more likely that it's going to be Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden in a two-man race headed towards the convention in Milwaukee.
You know, I was tweeting during the debate that was the Joe Biden that stared down Corn Pop, right? What was his name?
Corn Pop.
Corn Pop. Yeah, that was the old Biden, right?
When he was getting arrested with Nelson Mandela. Right?
Yeah, that was the old Biden there. I mean, I didn't always know what he was saying, but he was saying it with conviction.
Right, just like we're going out on Super Thursday he's running for U.S. Senate and telling everyone.
But people are overlooking that stuff, right, though, Liz? But you have to ask yourself, as a political observer on either side of the political aisle, is it too little, too late? It does feel like Bernie has a certain amount of momentum. He's going into these states where his support among Hispanics is starting to grow. It's going to help him very well in Texas, California, and other states.
Well, the Democrat establishment keeps meddling in their own elections. If you remember, during the impeachment sham, they sidelined Bernie Sanders from Iowa. Didn't really help Joe Biden because he still finished in fourth place. Of course, then he finished fifth in New Hampshire. And then lo and behold, 33 years after running for president, Joe Biden finally manages to win his first primary state. But the real problem for Joe Biden, for Bernie Sanders, for all of these candidates is they've adopted the Sanders agenda. They are the radical left party now that says there's no room for fossil fuels in my administration. I want a climate revolution. I'm going to eliminate millions of jobs in natural gas production. Those are all platforms that Joe Biden has endorsed, and they're far out of the mainstream. That is going to be a total loser come November 3rd.
You know, that's always been a problem, particularly in more recent elections, presidential elections, with winning primaries and winning general elections.
Sure.
And I think this is where Mayor Bloomberg is really unique, because it's felt like from the very beginning he has run almost as a general election candidate. And many thought maybe after Super Tuesday he would be, after South Carolina and today, he might be willing to bow out. I think we have a soundbite because it doesn't sound like he's going to bow out. Okay. Well, you heard what he said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, I've won New York City 3 times. I'm in it to win it. He's made comments that, just because you don't have to come in first or second to win a broker convention. The broker convention is hung over the Democratic Party like the sword of Damocles, right? Because if you have a brokered convention, there's going to be a large swath of people who are going to be very unhappy no matter who the ultimate nominee is.
Yeah, it's a great point, Charles. I think a brokered convention is our nightmare scenario as Democrats. I think we'll have a nominee by that point. To Liz's comments about Joe Biden, it's clear the RNC and this president doesn't want to run against Joe Biden. That's what got us into that impeachment mess to begin with.
That is fake news.
In terms of why they were going after Hunter Biden, right, to try and bring down Joe Biden.
Oh, okay. Well,
right, there was a target attack on
something that's all.
Sure. But that's why the president did that for the Hunter Biden aspect. But I think, we'll see coming out of tomorrow. As you rightly point out, 40% of our delegates are up for grabs tomorrow. I think the vice president is going to have a really good night in places like Texas, in Virginia, in Massachusetts.
If I had to just go as a political novice looking at crowd size and energy and enthusiasm, it feels to me that Bernie Sanders would be the candidate that President Trump wouldn't want to go against. But, Liz, who is it? Is the RNC, have you handicapped this yet, or are you just kind of sitting back letting it play out?
We're sitting back watching it burn. This is such a divided Democrat Party. We, frankly, would like to face any of them. I don't know if you saw Joe Biden yesterday, but he's having trouble quoting the Declaration Declaration of Independence, and worse than that, he's saying, oh, you got a tax cut? You like what you got? You like what's happening in your life? I'm going to take that away from you.
Liz,
we would easily take on Joe Biden or any of them.
I don't think making the argument about gaffes with the current president incumbent is a good winning argument against Joe Biden, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about gas, but let's talk about results. 3 years versus 50 in the swamp.
Well,
what has Joe Biden ever done except rebuild?
In the next 24 hours, we'll know a whole lot more.
He's never rebuilt anything except Hunter Biden's resume
There
after
you
getting
go.
kicked out of the Navy.
We've got to leave
Bring it on come November.
All right, we'll see. Thank you both very much,
luck.
Kevin and Liz.
Thanks, Charles.
Hey, our